What is going on, guys? Today is day
6.
of the 30-day challenge that I've been doing recently. And today, if you saw, I don't even know what a little sheet of paper is, but I pulled a little sheet of paper out of a hat. And today's video is going to end up being Dear Arsenal. I don't know what the title, that's kind of like the current title, but yeah, we'll see. And I kind of wanted to sit down, and I've had this idea in my mind literally for about 5 to 6 years. Arsenal just haven't been doing so well for so long. I've been always thinking, I really want to just talk about the problems with Arsenal, my issues with the club. But it's never really seemed like the right time. I'm like, you know what, things aren't that bad. So let's just wait and see what happens. But today, this season kind of just destroyed me. It broke me down, and I'm like, you know what, let me just put this out, because at least if I have more things to say later on, I have like this as like a foundation. So yeah, we're gonna kind of not necessarily reviewing this season of Arsenal, but like the last few years at least, and talking about my issues with the club as almost like an open letter, to the owners, manager, players, and the fans, which we'll go through now for the remainder of this video. So buckle up, get some popcorn ready, because we're going to go on a little roller coaster right now. So, dear owners of Arsenal Football Club, I'm going to start by talking about the owners. I wanted to do it from the ground up, fans, players, managers, owner, but Stan Kroenke, Josh Kroenke, the Kroenke family, KSE, have been taking the absolute piss since they've taken over, basically. Since they've taken over, they've taken absolute piss. And it just really, really annoys me. What's kind of happened to me this season more than any other season, because Arsenal fans, we've kind of become used to not signing any players, but in the past maybe it was Arsene Wenger's philosophy this, or we have, quality here, whatever, who's going to want to come to Arsenal, da 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 da. But what we've actually realised recently isn't so much about the manager, it's not so much about the players, it's not so much about ambition or where we are, from the club itself and the players and the manager themselves and the fans. It all comes down to the owners, and these Americans have no idea what sport is all about, no idea what's going on in the UK, and that has never been so obvious, it's so easy to visualize and to understand since this season, when they tried to split away with the breakaway league, the European Super League. Granted, it wasn't just Arsenal, there were 12 clubs involved, including the six, the big six in the UK, Manchester United, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, but like, I don't care about the other 11 clubs. I care about my club, right? And if I'm completely honest, the way the owners have been treating us and the team and the club for the past, since taking over, last like 7 or so years or whatever, it's actually not, it's not been 7 years, probably like 5 since KSE took over, 100%. But what they've shown us is that AFC, Arsenal Football Club, as far as I'm concerned, is no more. I even feel bad wearing the shirt, because all the values and morals and everything that I thought I loved about the club isn't actually there anymore. It's dead. It's finished. Now, what we are observing now in the present day, in my opinion, is Arsenal Limited, Arsenal Inc., Arsenal other business terminology insert here, because it's obvious. Money's always been a thing in football. It's always been viewed as a business, but it's never been so obvious to me, at least, that me, a fan, and all the other fans, we're not actually fans anymore. We're customers. What's it, legacy supporters they try to call us? We're just revenue streams as far as the Kroenkes are concerned. And yes, that also applies for like Madrid fans, Barcelona fans, all the other big six in the UK. But that's not quite the point. Again, this is from Arsenal. It's like, what is the actual point of supporting a club right now if that club isn't actually, it's an image, it's an illusion. I don't recognise Arsenal, and Henri said a similar thing, Vieira said a similar thing. The Arsenal that we have here today isn't one that we recognise, and that's purely, 100% down to the poor ownership, poor leadership from the owners, and this absolutely disgusting character that they've shown towards us in the last 12 to 18 months. Now, for people who don't really understand the sport, let me just break down very briefly what Arsenal is to me. I've kind of talked about in a previous video, my love-hate relationship with football. This is obviously more specific to Arsenal, but when it comes to supporting a club, at least in talking for me, for supporting Arsenal, I was born and raised, not in North London per se, but, I was born and raised in London. I come from an Arsenal family. A lot of my friends in my school support Arsenal, and I've always had that connection to the club. When you start watching it growing up, it's no longer just you watching 11 players on the pitch and the managers shouting tactics. It's like you feel like you're a part of the system every time you watch it. I remember there was a period in time, and I feel like most fans can relate to this, where there's always a period in time where you might have a difficult weekend or a difficult few weeks, or a month or so, and you miss a couple of games, and every single game you miss is like a bad result, it's a draw, it's a loss, and the second you come back, you start winning, and you start to think to yourself, maybe if I keep watching games, we'll keep on winning, and then the following week you watch it and the team loses, and it's like, flip sakes, all that's down the drain. But you really do feel connected to the club. And a lot of that comes down to, again, the morals, the ethics. Not ethics per se, but the values of the club. Arsenal's always been this classy club. We respect our fans, respect our players. I think Arsene Wenger was one of the first if not the first ever manager like in the Premier League to field an entire 11 of like no English players, and that's a big step. Even though some people might think, oh, when it comes to international football and I get it. I understand you do want to have like the English youth coming through the ranks and etc. etc. But it shows a lot of character. It shows a lot of like how we perceive, you know, diversity in other people. And again, that's something that in the past I was proud of, the diversity in Arsenal, and how much respect we showed to like our Singapore fans and, you know, international fans around the world. And then recently, you know, Ozil does this. It's like, oh, you know, we don't really. They kind of turn a blind eye to Ozil's whole, you know, the China situation. They kind of turned the whole blind eye to the Palestine situation. They turned the whole blind eye to the Black Lives Matter situation up until, you know, all the English clubs started taking a knee and stuff. Arsenal were kind of taking a back seat in all of this. And I'm like, one of the reasons why I thought Arsenal were a cool club in the past was because, you know, we weren't doing that. We were actively supporting each other. And a lot of those values, again, that comes down to affecting the bottom line. It's a business nowadays. They don't care about what the fans think. They care about, are you going to keep coming to our games? You know, if we speak out against China, are they going to keep showing our games over there or not? And that's going to affect our bottom line. Therefore, we're not going to take that stance. And that's something that's become so obvious. You know, all the owners care about Arsenal's bottom line. They haven't invested a single penny into the club yet. Maybe they did for Partey. I think they might have, you know, took money out of their pockets to actually buy Partey. But that was this year, and they've been in charge for a very long time. If you think about the Invincibles, you know, 2004, from then until now, we still haven't replaced Patrick Vieira. Maybe, okay, Partey now, but we hadn't replaced Vieira. Okay, we had like Van Persie in there doing well, but they just don't care about buying, you know, about winning stuff anymore. And that comes down to, yeah, again, poor ownership. But fundamentally, and the biggest problem here is just a lack of ambition. And that's something that, unfortunately, since they've been in charge for so long, has started to filter its way through the whole club. Like that mold, that lack of ambition seed that's been like planted, and the whole squad now, the whole club now just lacks that. And that's a perfect way, I think, to segue into like the manager situation. Mikel Arteta. So contrary to like everything you've probably heard me say about Arteta over the last few months, and in stark contrast to what I've been saying about him recently, I'm actually a very, very big fan of Arteta. I think he's a very intelligent guy. You know, I like when he comes to his interviews and meetings, even though recently he's been a bit, well, I say recently, the season's over now, but you know, at the end of the season he kind of fell off a little bit. But you can kind of tell generally, you know, you can see what his ideas are. You can see how he's focused on the defence. So he's trying to link play. He wants to get certain players in that's complement that style that we haven't got in yet because of the owners. And there are a lot of things that I like about Arteta. But he, in my opinion, is criminally inexperienced. And that shouldn't even be my opinion. Like, he's never had a job before Arsenal. Granted, he was a number 2 behind Pep at City, but you can't just go from like an assistant manager at one club to a manager at an even bigger club somewhere else. Let's not forget, Arsenal are way bigger than Manchester City. Granted, City's team, you know, they've got a bigger and better team than us right now, but as a club, Manchester City, they're domestic bullies. They don't do nothing. They didn't do nothing anywhere. No history. You know, look at. My argument for Chelsea is different now because they've won 2 Champions Leagues, but even Chelsea came out of nowhere. If you think about the biggest teams in Europe, you're thinking Manchester United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Liverpool, Arsenal, you know, Bayern Munich, Ajax. You're thinking about the big teams of history that have done great things. And Manchester City don't fit into that mould. Granted, again, they've done quite well recently, but even still, no European success, even limited, like, they've been good domestically, but they haven't been dominant domestically. Like Liverpool's here, Chelsea have been here, United won the league last 8-9 years ago. Like, it's been a bit. It's not as clear cut as, you know, City is. You can't just become, you know, you can't buy heritage. And it's like, what, you just imagine going from like, you have a regular job. I'm looking around my room trying to think of like, you know, I don't know, you're working like HP, like as an assistant printer manager, and you just get a job at like CEO of Google. Like that's kind of what I'm looking at when it comes to Arteta. That doesn't mean he's a bad person. Again, I do like Arteta. I think he's very intelligent. I think he's got good ideas, but he's criminally inexperienced, and he's the luckiest man in the world to finish 8th place with a big club like Arsenal and still have your job. Like, I don't understand that at all. My stance has always been like Eddie Nketiah send out on loan, Reece Nelson send out on loan, Joe Willock send on loan, Mikel Arteta send that boy out on loan, get him some experience, then call him back later. You know, recall him when he knows what he's doing, because I don't think he's ready for the job at Arsenal. Even though I like him, I don't think he's ready for the job. And what that shows more than anything, because I've always tried to, you know, contain my hate, my anger towards Arteta, because at the end of the day, it's not purely his fault that his fault that he hasn't performed as well as a manager, but it's not his fault that he's here. It's the owner's faults. And the reason why he's here, again, is because the owners have no ambition. They want to keep it cheap. They want to find a way, how can we appease the fans without spending much money? You know, we just hire an ex-player as a manager. I wouldn't have been surprised if they also brought in like Sol Campbell at some point, Henry, Vieira, any other manager that was an ex-player just to appease the fans. And it's like, what is the point of that? Most fans don't really see through that. I think most people just look at it for what it is. It's like, oh, it's Arteta, da-da-da-da. But fundamentally, again, Arsenal FC, Arsenal Football Club is no more. It's Arsenal Limited now. And Arsenal Inc., they decided to have the cheapest, the MVP, minimum viable product. How can we appease the fans for the least amount of money? And of course, Arteta was the answer. Again, I have nothing against Arteta personally, but his role in the club is a clear example of the lack of ambition we have. And even beyond that, if you do like Arteta and he's trying to get his team in, I hear a lot of fans saying, oh, he's got to get his team. The players that are here, they're still Emery's players. Like Mustafi, who's, okay, technically he's gone now. Klasnas has gone now. Ozil's gone now. So we have got rid of a lot of players. And to be fair, Arteta has brought in a couple of guys himself. Partey is the main one. But it's clear to see that the manager and the board and the owners, they're not even supporting Arteta. At least if you're going to bring someone in, MVP to figure things out, at least show you support them. Get him the players he wants, get rid of the players he doesn't want. When it comes to his contract negotiation, get that sorted. The whole Emi Buendia thing going to Aston Villa, like that's just embarrassing, man. And then Aston Villa again coming in asking 25 mil for Smith Rowe, and it's like we're actually entertaining that. Why? We're Arsenal Football Club, mate. Like there are levels to this, and it's just unacceptable. Like even me right now, I've seen the links, Buendia and pretty much every other player in the world in this 2021 window, but I can't even get behind it. Like I can't get behind it because fundamentally it's like even if we bring in Ronaldo or Messi, how much better are we actually going to do next season? Arteta, again, I like the guy, but I don't think he's going to bring the club forward. I don't think he's the man to bring the club forward. Even if we were, first of all, before we can even sign a big player, that assumes that the board are willing to spend money, which they haven't done so far. There's no reason to believe that they will now. Even with this whole Super League controversy and they were trying to, look good on camera and stuff, that's all PR. I don't actually think they're going to do anything. I'm 100% certain that we're going to go through into next season with a very, very similar squad to the squad we have now. Maybe in January, we might make some signings, but I do not think we're going to make many summer signings. I know the Conga's about to come through. I think Xhaka's on his way out, but I don't see many big changes coming anytime soon. And again, that's just more reason to believe that this board, the owners, have no idea what they're doing. They have no ambition and they're not willing to spend money. And that fundamentally, people are going to take that on Arteta fundamentally, which is the problem. But I don't know. When it comes to Arteta, you do hear a lot of fans say, is it the manager? Is it the players? And I don't know, I've kind of talked about my problems with the manager-ish. If you haven't been watching Arsenal Football Club, for the last season, one thing that many fans would notice, and I think people, again, it's hard to separate player from manager, but there are some things that I think are objectively Arteta's fault. For example, tactics. I recognise about 7, I think. We changed into about 7 or 8 different positions throughout the course of the season. 3-5-2, 3-4-3, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, 5 at the back systems. All these different systems that just don't... I get it. I know why we're doing them. I understand the formation in principle, but why? I don't understand why we... what's going on? Last season we had this 4-3-3, which was working pretty well towards the end. We had Aubameyang catching up 22 league goals last season, some crazy numbers. Everything was going, last season as in 19-20, everything was going relatively well when Arteta came in. Granted, we still lost some games we shouldn't have. We won the FA Cup, which is cool. But yeah, things were generally going well. And then suddenly this season, we bring in Partey, which means you can change, make some changes. He completely just messed up everything. He starts playing Aubameyang at strike, which I get because he's naturally a striker, but he's been playing on the left this whole time. You just throw him in at strike for no reason. Throw Pepe on the left, throw Saka on the right, then on the left. Saka wants to play about 10 different seasons, 10 different positions this season, and I'm saying 10 because there are 11 players on the pitch, and he didn't play in goal, but he pretty much played everywhere else on the pitch. Saka was striker, left mid, right mid, left back, centre back, DM, 10, played every position that you imaginable on the pitch. And again, that goes to show. Some people can say, oh, you haven't got the right players to play, so you got to put Saka there. But fundamentally, who picks the players? Who made the signings? Whose fault was it? Again, you can't argue the board. But why didn't we bring in a left back? At the end of January when Tierney was injured, there's no reason to throw Xhaka there. And if Xhaka's not performing well at left back, Saka came through last season as a left back. So put him back there. Why is he playing right back? And you want to put Cedric at left back? He has one bad game. Arteta drops him immediately and puts Chambers there or something. I'm like, what is going on? All this non-stop tinkering. You've had half of last season and all the season so far to figure things out. Pre-season, whatever else, going through. You asked if there were drones, so I know you got drones out there. I know you can look at the highlights and see what's going on. Why is it so hard to figure out what's going on? You can't blame the players. Yes, okay, you can blame them for playing bad, But then who picks them? Arteta picks them. So why are you picking bad players? If you know Xhaka's not good at left back, don't play him at left back. If you know Aubameyang doesn't really score on the left away from home, don't play him on the left away from home. And so on and so on. If Ceballos is making mistakes in the midfield, he's on loan. Just drop him. There's no need to like apologize. Oh, don't worry, we'll bring you back later. Like if you're playing badly, end of the season you're out anyway. You're on loan. Just bye. Sit him out. Odegaard, if he's not doing well, sit him out. But Arteta, obviously, again, this is what I'm saying. He lacks the experience. I think an experienced manager would know what's going on. They'd know their team and they'd make the relevant changes where necessary. Not necessarily the case. There are some managers who are experienced but also bad. But that's not, obviously. There are levels to it, and I think Arteta just doesn't have the experience as of yet to properly navigate and have hard conversations with a team. One thing that especially annoyed me was when Pepe was it Pepe the headbutt? It was Pepe. Yeah, I think Pepe headbutt a player, a Brighton player, and he was like sent off. Arteta's like, oh, you can't be doing that. It's horrible. Blah, 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 I haven't got Pepe. Like 2 weeks later, Granit Xhaka's like also like made it. Got a red card, sent off. It was a ridiculous challenge. Arteta's just like, oh yeah, the Xhaka, he's played well this season, keeps him playing. At the same time, he like immediately benches Pepe, throws him out of the squad, and he's cool with Xhaka. This same Granit Xhaka that swore at the fans, you're constantly making mistakes, constantly getting sent off, always gets a booking, and pretty much every game I've seen Xhaka play, he just gets a yellow card for no reason. We can be 4-0 up in the 89th minute, and he's just going to take a player out for no reason, because he's just not that good of a player. He's alright, he's average, but he's not the type of guy that's going to win you trophies. He's not the guy you want at Arsenal. I'm not going to go off on Xhaka in this video, but for Arsenal's sake, like I don't understand how the players have been managed by Arteta, and segue into the next bit. Like I don't really understand the general ambition and intentions of the players themselves. Quick change in shirt. I ran out. I was sitting there for a while talking about football. Like, you know what? I just want to play some footy, so I went to the park. But now we're back, and we're going to continue talking about the players. So Pepe and Xhaka, I think, were the last thing we're talking about. But let's talk about the players, in general. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're all garbage. They're all garbage, mate. Now, yes, we can, it's always easy to look, as a fan who watches every game, well, as many games as I can at least, while at university, there are players you can look at and say, like, this player is talented, this player is good, this player's got technical ability, da-da-da-da-da. Aubameyang, for example, granted, last season was quite bad, but he's had, 2.5 amazing seasons here at Arsenal. I think he's currently the top scorer in the league if you account for all the other players since Aubameyang joined. Maybe not anymore. I think Salah's probably surpassed him. Maybe even Vardy as well after last season. But generally, he's one of the best strikers in the league. Saka's obviously very, very good, albeit young. Smith Rowe's very, very good, albeit very young. Gabriel showed a lot of good signs last season. So we have some good players. But the way I always think about this, and this is something that I feel like a lot of more analytical fans also think, but something that will always bug me is like, how good a club you are or how good your team is based on your individual, based on your individual players, not necessarily the team itself. Systems are important, tactics are important, don't get me wrong. In fact, they're probably more important than the individual players, as Leicester showed back in the day. But if you're trying to compare two teams, it's hard to compare systems if you're just looking at two teams at the XIs on paper. You want to see like what player is better, per position. You want to look at like combined XIs, for example. And this season, and not even this season, for the last maybe even 10 years, if I'm trying to compare Arsenal to any other of the big six teams, apart from Spurs, they're not really... They're like, I don't even... Anyway, we'll come back to that another day. But when you're trying to compare Arsenal to the other, 5 teams in the big six, how many of our players will make it into the combined XI of all those players? And for the last, literally, it might even be 10, if not even more years, we haven't got a single player that is better. Let's look at our teams right now, yeah? The best striker, if you're looking at the big six, you probably have to put Harry Kane in there. Maybe Aguero in his prime. Realistically, it'd probably have to be Kane. Goalkeeper, obviously not Leno. Fullbacks, obviously not Bellerin. Like, I'm not even going to tell you who's going to be in the XI, but I can tell you for a fact, you're not getting a single Arsenal player in there. And that just goes to show how much we've regressed since Kroenke, basically since Stan Kroenke. That's not necessarily the fault of the owners in this case. I mean, everything kind of does come down to them. It's their umbrella, it's their company. But I want to highlight specifically the players, because people seem to love Granit Xhaka. Well, he's a very Marmite fat player. Like, some people either love or hate him. But I'm like, why have we become so content with someone like, to even suggest that Xhaka's a good player for Arsenal Football Club goes to, like, I think that's disrespectful to all the great players we've had in the past. Vieira's looking at, like, you think Xhaka's good? You know how good Vieira was? And you're like, oh yeah, Xhaka, yeah, he put in a performance that day. Are you crazy? You have like Gilberto Silva out here looking around like, what? This guy, even Diaby, Jack Wilshere, Ramsey, you've had some great midfielders at Arsenal Football Club, and you want to tell me Granit Xhaka is good enough, is like what you're happy with. I love Pepe. I've always said Pepe just needs more time. Since he's come in, he's had like 3 different managers, all these different systems. He's been played in the left and the right, strike, number 10. Sometimes he's played in the league, sometimes he's played in Europa League. He's like missed games here. He hasn't really had a good run of games. So I've always said like eventually he will come good. But it's like, we're Arsenal Football Club. I haven't got time for one day you're going to come good. Again, I do love Pepe, but we need you to come in and perform. If you're not performing, maybe not get out per se, but you need to have rotations, have better players around there, competition. I've said this for a very long time with Bellerin, for example. Bellerin at right back, whether you like him or not, my problem with Bellerin isn't specifically Bellerin, it's the fact that he's got no competition. Why should he perform on the right if his second choice is like Callum Chambers or Carl Jenkinson back in the day, or Debuchy back in the day? Like, I don't need to perform. If I'm Hector Bellerin, I'm like 26 years old, Spanish, I've been here for a while, people know me, people like me, I've got a pretty decent brand now, a podcast on the back, all this, planting trees, da. I don't care about Debuchy. Are you crazy? Who have you got now? Like Callum Chambers? Come on, man. Come on. Cedric. I mean, to be fair, Cedric isn't all that bad. But like, you can't just throw a guy in there. You can't expect. You should expect that. You should expect them to do better. They should be personally, individually motivated. But like, Bellerin. One thing that I mentioned there, about being individually motivated is something that I think spans the whole thread of the club as well. Like you look at teams like Real Madrid. You look at teams like, not quite Man City actually, not quite Man City. Chelsea are kind of getting there these days. Liverpool as well in many ways have been there for a while. But it's that killer instinct, that desire, that passion for the game, wanting to win, competitive spirit. That's something that all of the biggest teams have. If you want to win trophies, look at Bayern Munich in the Champions League when they won it. They were ruthless. They were ripping teams apart. They didn't care if they were 4-0 up at Barcelona. It's like, it's Barcelona. We're going to score 4 more. You know what I mean? And that's something that Arsenal have lacked for so many years. Lacked the ruthlessness, lacked the competitiveness. We don't kill teams. We don't, end games very well. Under Arteta recently, we have shown signs of like resilience. If we go down, we are likely to score and come back into the game. But it's like generally, we've lacked that killer instincts, that ruthlessness, that winner's mentality at the club for a very, very long time. That's a player's issue. You can't, if you're a player, Saka kind of shows it, Smith Rowe shows it, Odegaard shows it, Lacazette shows it, even though Lacazette isn't as good as he can be. He shows that passion, you can see he's angry. When we had Sanchez, throwing gloves on the floor, I know people were angry, like, oh, you're petulant little child or whatever. People were angry about that. But to some extent, you do want that. Not, obviously too much is bad. It affects the mentality in the dressing room, the mindset of the players. But passion, we want that anger. If you're being subbed off, if you're 1 goal down at the 50th minute and you're getting subbed off as a striker, as an attacking player, I'm going to be angry. It's like, I want to make a difference. I want to score here. Lacazette has been subbed off at the 70th minute every game, basically, his whole career at Arsenal. And I've never, maybe like once or twice, I've pretty much never seen him like do something about that. Like, get angry, be livid. Look at Arteta, like, what the hell? There's 20 minutes left, bro. You need to score a goal. I'm the top scorer this season. Why are you taking me off? Like, show me that. Show me that desire to win, that desire to score, that passion for the game, that competitive nature. Because that's one of the main reasons why we're doing so badly as well. The players just don't have the mentality. I've got mixed feelings on Partey. I haven't really bought into the, I haven't arrived at the party yet. But when you look at Partey's first North London derby, yeah, I get it, he's injured, okay, it's, your leg hurts, I get it. But to just walk off the pitch and chill, you're like our last hope in defence. You're like our DM. You're there to break up play. To just walk, at least go down and hold your leg and like stop play. Don't just walk off. So we're down to 10 men. The rest of the team who are attacking don't even know you've come off yet. So we have that counter attack, and I think Kane or Son score like immediately from that counter attack because Partey just walked off the pitch. Like what? And all these players. If I'm Arteta, I'm like, what the hell? I'm smacking you up, bro. Get back in the game. Or if you're injured, go down. Just hold your leg. Wave to the ref. Say I'm injured. That whole ruthlessness we just don't have anymore. And the players, in my opinion, I can't think of a single Arsenal player right now that I actually like. Obviously, I mentioned a few: Gabriel, Saka, Martinelli, Smith Rowe. All the young ones are pretty decent, but anyone above the age of like 26 can just get out. We got to start moving these guys on and bring in players. It doesn't matter how good they are just yet. Obviously, we want to compete as quickly as possible. But set aside talent for the moment and just think about who actually wants it. Who wants it? Who's going to come and get it? Who wants to win? Who's going to come in at the 70th minute when we're 1-0 down at Manchester United and score that equaliser? Or if we're, 1-0 up the other way around in the 70th minute against Manchester United and they're on a counter-attack, who's gonna be a dogged midfielder and just take the guy out? You're not scoring today. Who's saying that? Who's taking a man out and saying you're not scoring today? Because we don't have that right now. We have, Mustafi's gone now. But Rob Holding, bro. Ceballos. Get them out. Get them all out. And then once they're all done, we can finally talk about the most important part of the puzzle, and that is Arsenal fans. Now this video has already been pretty long. I feel like I've been talking for at least half an hour across these two recordings. But Arsenal fans and Arsenal fans, I don't like saying this. I feel like it's a very negative perspective to have, especially because it affects me as well. But I've heard people say that Arsenal fans are the most deluded fan base out there, and even though I don't agree with it, I understand where that perception comes from, and I can somewhat justify where that perception has come from when it comes to the fan base itself and why things are the way they are within the fan base. I think one thing that plays against us in many ways is the fact that we are such a big club. People forget how big Arsenal are. We have such a big history. We've been good. We've been bad for a while, but we were good for so long before then. We had, 25 years or something in Europe every single season until this year when I messed up. But we're a known club. Of course, we have one of the biggest fan bases in world football. We bring in so much money and revenue compared to all the other clubs. We are deservedly a big club, but we don't behave like it anymore. And I think that has left a weird impression on the minds of many fans out there. Because when it gets to a certain size, you have people at different age groups, different classes, different backgrounds, some people like the club because of Henry, some because of Bergkamp, some because of Sanchez and Ozil, some because of, Martin Cohen back in the days. We have so many different fans from so many different eras and so many different perceptions of the club that I think we're getting to a point where we just lack togetherness. Our fans, we haven't won anything properly in such a long time, and we're all just angry, but we don't actually know what we're angry at. Some of our fan bases are like, the owners are the problem. Others say, Arteta is the problem. Others say Granit Xhaka is the problem. And it's like, there's so much going on at the club. We haven't won or done anything good for such a long time that we just have so many varying opinions, and that leads to so much infighting. Like, you can't go Arteta as the players' fault. Or, you can't blame the players because Arteta plays them. Or, you can't blame the owners because they just bought Partey. Or, you can't blame Partey because, people don't really know what's going on. And I think the whole lacking togetherness, maybe I'm wrong here, because I've spoken to a lot of Arsenal fans just as my nature as an Arsenal fan, but it's like we always seem to have different things because there's so much wrong at the club. Nothing is going our way right now, and the worst thing, worse than anything, is that it's not even our club anymore. I was going back to the first point, Arsenal FC is now Arsenal Limited. We can protest. We had the biggest fan protest after the ESL stuff of all the other clubs, but nothing happened. Nothing at all. Daniel X put £2 billion down, literally double the value of the club right now. He's put down double the value, and Stan Kroenke's like, you know what? I don't need $2 billion. I got 11 billion back home. I don't need that. I got a ranch out here in America. I don't need your money. And it's like, no one wants Kroenke here. But at the end of the day, he owns the club. There's nothing we can do about it. We can protest. We can put down £2 billion. We can do what we want. He's just not going to go. And again, going back to how big the club is, even if we were to try and stage boycotts or anything like that, there are so many fans that would die to go to the game. Even me, to be fair, my brother messaged me the other day that, do you want to try and get tickets for the North London derby? And I'm like, no. Because deep down I don't want to support that. But at the same time, it's my club. I really want to go and watch that game. And there are so many problems in the fan base. I love Arsenal fans. I've got nothing against Arsenal fans individually, but our fan base, I don't know. I feel like we lack togetherness at the moment. I feel like we're starting to lose control, and I think it's time to actually take control back. Take the club back. We've got to figure something out. Whether it be protesting, boycotts, this, that, the other, we've got to figure something out. Shout out to AFTV. Irrespective of your thoughts on DT, troops, etc., AFTV is just a platform for people to speak, so chill on that one. But yeah, man, that's essentially it. Just to briefly conclude on the fans thing, I think a lot of our problems come from the fact that one, we're so big, and two, we're just doing so bad that it's hard to be positive. And when there are so many people, if you assume 1% of every fan base is in distress, 1% of 100 fans is only one fan. 1% of a million fans, Arsenal's a very, very big club, 10 million fans. That's a lot of people, and I think that's why it just looks so bad. Generally, I think every fan base is quite the same. I generally think all communities are similar, numerically, because if you assume a percentage of the population is depressed or whatever, or deluded, that percentage you'd imagine would be shared equally without all fan bases anyway. That's at least my perception as a numbers guy. But because it's such a big club, I think the loudest voices just get heard a lot more, and that's annoying. And I genuinely need something from Arsenal, man. I don't think I can rest. I don't think I can support the club anymore for as long as Kroenke is the owner, because, as I said, Arsenal is just a business now. It may as well just be like Amazon, Google, Apple. And yeah, okay, like I might watch the game here or there. I might buy an Android phone. You know, I might order from Amazon Prime. But I'm not like checking up on Jeff Bezos to see what Bezos is doing every day at Amazon. I'm not checking up every day to see what Sundar Pichai is doing at Google, because I'm not connected to the company like that. And Arsenal has now just become another company that I'm not connected to. You know, I'll watch a game here and there, but I don't see the point in why am I supporting? Because when I support Arsenal, in my head I'm supporting AFC, Arsenal Football Club. But in reality, I'm just putting more money, more data, more whatever into the business that is owned by Stan Kroenke. I don't want any more of that. I don't want to have any part of that. So for at least for the remainder of the season, well, not even the remainder because it's currently the Euros, but from next season onwards, I'm not counting myself as an Arsenal fan anymore, because Arsenal's dead. Arsenal is not a real thing anymore. We'll see what happens. We'll see how things go. But I'm not even excited about the Euros or anything right now. I'm just so fed up. I am curious as to see if there's like a chart over time to see like how depressed people are versus how Arsenal's form is. Because I genuinely think the way people are connected with this club, not just Arsenal, with any club, I genuinely think we'll have a generation of like just sad kids, like depressed kids, because you know certain teams, Arsenal, just aren't doing too well. Man United fans included. My bad for Villarreal defeat. You know, holla Emery. But but yeah, that's it for me. As I said, I'm not gonna be. This shirt is coming off after this video, and it's probably gonna be at the bottom of my suitcase for at least until Kroenke leaves. But yeah, dear Arsenal, you suck.